their products are D or OUD.
I think that's fire.
Huh?
I think that's fire. Yeah.
They did? They changed. They keep on changing.
I read somewhere. Yeah. No, it's fire.
Okay. So they keep on changing from Partiv to Milchik and Milchik and Partiv. But if you catch a batch,
Amen.
that is Partiv.
Thank you.
So here's the deal.
Not Pastor
Not possible.
No. Is that a problem? Never.
Here is one of the things, Pasakum and Bishalakum, where the Sfardim are way more machmir than the Ashkenazim.
Even by told them more mouth. That comes to cooking.
I get pregnant.
You know, Bubba's not there.
Sure.
You do the land for the firm.
Yeah.
For tea, I tell you. Yeah.
The Sfardim are very machmir and Pasakum and Bishalakum. Like most Ashkenazim, if it's a bakery, paspal to the makel. Unless for those that want to do extra Yerushalayim, obviously in Chabad, if the makbid not to eat paspalpit. And then there is the other issue which is bishul. Again, like I said, you tend to think that's Sfardim are makel and everything, but like if you have most of the products today that have a thing on it, bishul Yisrael. It's because the Mashgiach opened the fire. And the Sfardim don't go for that.
No.
So
They have to cook it themselves.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there is Shulchan Aruch says that if the bread is not fully baked, the bread is not fully baked. So and the Yid finishes baking it, then it's good enough. It's good enough. Shulchan Aruch says, we'll read it inside in a minute. You know, we can read it right now. Shulchan Aruch writes, look at I changed it a little bit because I want to start posting it. Yeah, sure. I have many more. So I started writing the Shaila, the Din, and then the Mokif. So, but let's jump to the Mokif. Pasuk Shulchan Aruch. Yeridei Simekuf Yud Beis Yud Beis. Im Ofa Oivik Echavim Hapas Balachitu Yisrael Balakesem. If the goy baked it completely, Afilu, because by bread, even the Bet Yosef is makel that it's helped that the Jews will start the fire. So Afilu kormu pnei apas betaner moil chitu Yisrael, even if the bread already got crusty, the Jew could stoke the fire. Called man shapas tzorech le ataner mashbiach. As long as the bread needs the tanur, mashbiach b'fiyosei adayim. Yesh mishayimesh afilu hoitzi apas. Even if he took out the bread, yesh takon lachzir l'tani yedei Yisrael imu mashbiach. The second shita says if it's mashbiach, you could put the bread back in other words, if you have bread, according to this opinion, bread it has an OU parav. Bread, like, you go into Walmart and you have a whole.
Doesn't say Papa.
So it's not pas Yisrael. So you could put it into the toaster. But the first opinion is mashma that it's not going to help mashbiach. It has to be that it's not fully baked. Now, what's the halacha? So there is it's a klal you do, but anyway, it's brought in the sefer as if tzedek from Reb Abdullah Soimech. That klal is that in the Shulchan Aruch the halacha is the first opinion. If he brings a second opinion, for whatever, and in this case he says it's because to tell you shasat chak. If it's shasat chak, that you could rely on the second opinion. Now, I saw in the contemporary halacha thing that they said, well, but the Ashkenazim are makel, because you see later that the Shulchan Aruch writes. Well, let's read it inside. In bishla oivikachavan k'maychel ben desoy. If the goyim cooked a food and it's already cooked k'maychel ben desoy. The Gemara talks about Shabbos. When is a person considered cooking a Shabbos? When it says as long as you cooked it k'maychel ben desoy. If there was a person, he couldn't wait till his steak was fully baked. It was a thief. Today, everyone in America likes to eat their steak like the thief. He only did it a third or half. A third. Let me go with the third. So he liked the steak rear. So Yisrael yesh lasre. Elim Kain who at a Shabbos out of Yom Tov Meruba. If the guy cooked it and it's Kamaichel ben Dusoi, so it's already fully cooked. Halachically, it's fully cooked. There's nothing you can do now. Now it's garbage. I can make if it's out of Shabbos, out of Yom Tov, or Hefsed Meruba. V'yesh matina mechol inyan. Okay, no, these. So the Ramah says that there are those that are makel. So I see in a Sefer Teres Moshe, as you see, Ashkenazim are makel. So also Lagabi bread, if you buy bread with an OU and you throw it in your toaster, it's good. But it's a terrible mistake. Let me explain. The Rishonim have a machloikis. The Sfardi Rishonim are all machmer because they say that this chumer comes from Rabbeinu Chananel, and Rabbeinu Chananel called Vora Divrei Kabbalah. They imply a simple rule, just like by Shabbos. What does it mean, baked or cooked? Baked means karmu pnei, it got crusty. What does it mean, cooked? It's a third cooked. So that what applies to Shabbos applies to Bishalakum. But then the Rosh and many of the other Ashkenazi poskim said no. And it's only for Shilchas Shabbos, but which is a deraisa. But when it comes to Bishalakum and Pasakum, as long as it's not 100% baked or not 100% cooked, so the Jew could still get involved in the cooking and the baking. You could still save the day by the Jew getting involved in the cooking and the baking. So if it's 99% baked and 99% cooked, the Jew can get involved in the cooking and the baking. So that would save the day. Now, the Machaber is Machmir. Now, it seems that the Machaber is a little bit makel, because Lagabi Pas Akum, we see that even the Machaber is makel on many issues. So he holds that even after Kormu Poneh or even after it got crusty, you could still put it in the oven. So in other words, here the Machaber is makel, but the Ramon never said anything. It sounds like on the issue of the bread, the Shvardim and the Ashkenazim are exactly the same. There's no extra discounts for being Ashkenazi or Sfardi when it comes to bread. When it comes to bread, it's exactly the same thing. That if it still needs to go back to the oven, then you throw it in the oven and it becomes Pas Yisrael. If it already came out of the oven, then sorry, it's Pas Akum. There's nothing you could do. But there is an opinion that's makel, and you can rely on it b'shas atchak. So let to summarize, as I again, there's no discounts for bread. It doesn't matter you're Sfardi and Ashkenazi. That Amos says nothing lagabi bread, so it's the same thing. Sfardim are a little more makel lagabi bread, even though they're machmer, and they hold that whatever applies to Hilchas Shabbos applies to Hilchas Bishul and Pasakum. It says as long as the bread needs to go back in the oven, it'll help to throw it back in the oven. So Sfardim Ashkenazim are exactly the same on bread. The only difference will be lagabi cooking. So therefore, I would say as a rule of thumb in general, if you go into the store, right? You go to Walmart or one of those big. I'm just saying you Walmart because if you go to Walmart, you want a piece of bread. You go into the aisle and there's like you could choose one of like 300 loaves of bread, different companies, like crazy. What do you need so much? Whatever but there's also a freezer section where you can also pick a tremendous amount of a selection of bread and bagels, things that are not fully cooked, not fully baked. I mean, baked, and they need to go back in the oven. Now, if you're going to buy from the freezer section, then it's 100% fine. You're going to put it in the oven or in the toaster. Doesn't matter. You're Sfardi, Ashkenazi. It doesn't matter. If you buy it in the freezer section in Walmart, and then you throw it in the oven, you throw it in the toaster, then it's 100% Pas Yisrael, no ifs, buts, and whens. But if you buy it in not the freezer, you buy it in the regular aisle. If you buy it in the regular aisle, Shema Mino, if it's in the regular aisle, that means it doesn't have to go back in the oven. If people could eat it and do eat it this way, so therefore, doesn't matter as far as Ashkenazi. This is Pasakim right now. Now, if it's a Shasat Chak, it's a Shasat Chak. On Shasat Chak, you're not in New York. You're in the Orei Asodi and somewhere, and there. That's what you have. So now you can rely on the second opinion and throw it in the toaster. So when we come to Stella Dora cookies, they have a certain cookie that people like a lot. It's almost like this cookie. And in the middle, they're goyim. They're not eating. They don't know how to make hamatashim similar to hamantashen. So it's like a goyish hamantash. It has like a chocolate cream. It has a like a chocolate pudding in the middle. So yeah. So so if it's the I'm not going to talk about if it's the but if it's part of, which they seem to be going back and forth, and but there was a time they were all powered. So like this.
And then price of milk.
Yeah, that's what it is. The price of milk.
Expensive, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That could be. So here, can you please pass it? Thank you so much. So bottom line is those cookies are totally edible. They're totally edible. So look, for Svardim, it's a problem. It's paspalta. Ashkenazim, it's mutter. Anyway, but a person should be machmir and not eat paspalta. Definitely Chabad were machmir, and we don't eat paspalta. Okay, so the shaila is, could I throw it now in the oven and say, look, the chocolate is hard. If you put it in the oven, put it in the oven for you preheat the oven, you're 350, and you put in those cookies, and you take them out 60 seconds later, and the chocolate is half melted. Ooh, it's delicious. You could, in one sitting, you could finish a whole package.
Oh yeah, do that next
Sunday.
We should do that next Sunday.
So the shaila is that putting in the oven make it pas Yisrael? The answer is simple. That would be told in this machloikis. It's 100% edible before you threw it in the oven. True, it's mashbiach, so that would be relying on the second. That would be relying on the second opinion. So for Ashkenazim, this thing would be much more makel, because Ashkenazim to begin with eat paspalta. Only don't eat paspalta as a chumra be'alma, but Svardim who don't eat paspalta not as a chumra be'alma. They don't eat paspalta. Period. So then you'd have to say it has to be shasat chak. What's a shasat chak? It's hard to say what's a shasat chak. If what do you mean? I don't have any other good cookies. There's no other Stella Dora cookies. But you can buy the Jewish baker. Right? These cookies. A shasat chak could be if you're out of town. If you're living not in New York, where you can get pas Yisrael cookies. And it's hard to get pas Yisrael cookies. So shasat chak. So what's shasat chak? A Jew could live without cookies too.
Oh yeah,
But is it possible? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So you could say if there's no other cookies available, so you could say it could be makel and call it a shasat chak. Again, if for Ashkenazim this whole thing is more kuludik to begin with, because it's a chumra be'alma not to have paspalta. For Svardim it would be a little more chumradik. Yeah.
You were touching about Shabbos. It entered my mind about a after by a Adar Yavish. How does that play a role? If you buy a bag of commercially baked bread, it's fully baked, you put it in the toaster, and now you're toasting it. Maybe
on Shabbos you don't. No,
of course not. On a Yom Chol, how does a fia after a by a Adar Yavish come into the picture? Does it?
So we just said. The dinner Shulchan Aruch is that once the bread is fully baked, there's nothing. You can't change it.
Once it's not,
it doesn't help. Yet. Second opinion, Taika holds that it does help if it's mashbiach. Now,
how is toasting it mashbiach? Because it's changing it from one taste to a different taste. But it's not mashbiach it.
You could eat the bread not toasted. You could eat it as is.
So what's the Pirush Amilas? Afilu hoitzi apas yesh takona lachziru latanu al yedei Yisrael imu mashbiach. What does it mean? What kind of shvach are we talking about?
Maybe toasting is not.
But dough which was not 100%. Let's say it was 95% done. So you're putting it back to the extra not 5%.
Because that's already the first shit that it says. Off oivik echavman pas balochi to Yisrael. The block case and afilu kormu pnei. Apas bataner moil pitu Yisrael kolzman shapas sorich lataner umashbiach befios yadain v'yesh mishem afilu hoitzi apas yesh takona lachzidei lataner al Yisrael imu mashbiach. It's mashma
I don't know if they had toasters in those days. It could be that I don't know if the contemporary Svarim talk about
What's the difference between a toaster oven and a regular oven?
no, but well, like we were saying that the toasting you could eat bread in a sandwich not toasted, or you could toast it.
Right. He's saying that it's not called mashbiach.
So I was wondering if any of the contemporary Svarim discuss if toasting is improving it, or it's just.
I think toasting it is mashbiach. So it would be totally in this two machlo. A simple pshat and Shulchan Aruch is that it's not gonna help if it's full. That's why I said if you're buying it in the freezer section, obviously if you're buying it in the freezer section, it's not fully baked. But if you're buying it in the regular section, so they're fully baked. So then Ashkenazim could be a little more makel. The Sfardim, okay, listen, if it's a shas atchak, you're traveling, and there is no other bread. There is no other bread. So that's a she'ein l'cha shas atchak. Godel mizeh. He has no other bread, but he has a toaster. I remember once I went with the kids on a trip, and we bought a box full of bread. But the thing was that we were on a road trip and we were camping, and there was not enough space in the ice box to put the bread. So the bread was in a box. Whatever, it was the summer, the conditions were such that after 2 days, the whole box of bread was like one box of mold.
Well,
so
I can understand if you're frying it or cooking the bread. So then the Indian of
no, it was very simple. We had a toaster with us. So we bought regular bread in Walmart and we toasted it. So it's a shas atchak. We had no other bread, so it's a shas atchak. But otherwise, taka. There's no difference Sfardim and Ashkenazim. If the bread is not fully baked, you could put it back in the tan and it becomes pas Yisrael. If it's fully baked, it has to, and you're putting it back in order to be mashbiach, and then you have to be makel in the shas atchak.
Are the bread in the shgacha?
Well, depends. If you know for sure that they're baked. Today in America, they do need hashgacha. You don't know what's going on, what's coming and going. If it's in Europe, like in France, where there is you're going to a baguette bakery, they don't need any hashgacha.
You don't?
We don't need any hashgacha. The ingredients, they're very
not
strict.
adding anything.
The French are very, very strict. If you're selling baguette, you better not be putting in or taking out any of the basic ingredients of baguette. They don't even smear it with oil. There's no egg on it. There's nothing. It's basically flour and water, and the ovens are dedicated for bread. They're not roasting pork. They're not doing a pork run.
Their sandwich after lunch.
French bakers wouldn't need a shgacha. That's amazing.
Yeah, but still,
they have special ovens. It's very hard to imagine, but they're not. Okay, someone wrote last week, 2 weeks ago. I published something that we spoke about over here in the journal called the Oros of Yehudim, and at one page over, there was an article from Shliach in Budapest, Rabbi Overlander, saying that he thinks that Bisman Hazeh, the planes are so safe that if you travel on a plane and you land, you don't have to make a bracha v'goimel. You don't have to make a bracha v'goimel.
Who said that?
Rabbi Oberlander. You don't have to make a bracha v'goimel if you
back when I
no.
okay.
They bring a raya. He says that the Ketzos Shulchan, Rabbi Avraham Chaim Noah writes that there's the midbar. There's the people go in the deserts. One of the four things Chacham said is when you come out of the desert, you say Agoimel. He said today, if there's a desert and you're going through the desert by train, then you don't have to make a goimel because there's no chash of listim v'chayis roz. A lion cannot attack a train while it's going through the deserts at 60 miles or 50 miles per hour. So first of all, I'm not sure that he's right. Who says that his halach is right? Secondly, when
it's not the lion, it's the terrorist.
Exactly. So there's many things. First of all, when a plane lands, people clap a lot of times, and when the train stops, it doesn't matter. when the train stops, people clap their bags, go off. I've been in trains all over the world. I mean, talking not just a choo-choo train from here to there, not only talking about 18-hour rides or less. And I've never, when we got to final destination, I never heard people go like this. You know, okay, take your bag and you go. Why are people clapping? Because they were nervous about this flight. And the Gemara says that you could say agomel for someone else that their life was saved, but only the Alter Rebbe says it's not. It's only if you're really happy for them, not if it was time of formality. But it's mashma from this that agomel is on simchas alev. There's not like you say, oh, safek brachas la'okol. Or if you're excited, if you're happy, you see people are clapping their hands. But the main thing I want to show you is this. I'm not trying to, but Taka is something. So the Rebbe wrote about this. So I want the Rebbe wrote about it. The thing is that the Olam says that Rabbi Reichik, here his grandfather, had a yechidus by the Rebbe, and he had usually used to take a train all the way from the west coast to the east coast. It's that he went by plane from California to New York, from LA to New York. And this is 1960, and he asked the Rebbe Yechidus if he should say the bracha goimel, and the Rebbe said no, because the planes today are not the way planes used to be. Okay, so I want to read if the story is true, but still I want to. So the Rabbi Oberlander says, you see, and today the planes are even better than 1960, even better. So therefore, no agomel. Doesn't matter.
The safety, the plane itself, or the safety of the plane being hijacked. They're two different than the other.
So the truth is,
You still have stories.
99% don't
Planes
get
get
out.
recalled. Boeing, a whole bunch of their planes just got recalled. Nothing to do with terrorism. Just plane was supposed.
exactly. There was. It's hard. First, two things that are faulty in his whole thinking here. Number one, you don't go in statistics. You go about, you know, what. First of all, you go with what's the sakona? What's the sakona? And every plane has sakona. Today, there's terrorists that are trying to get onto every single plane. They're trying to krich onto every single plane. So they have all the security. Yeah. So, but first of all, really, there is, and it's true. There was a flight, Alaska Air, a flight 2-3 months ago, and mid-flight, the door blew out, and everyone was holding on to their seats for their dear lives.
Wow.
So
look, if you ride on a stagecoach, you think, well, that can also happen, like a wheel can come off or something like that.
So first, let's read this little piece. I want to read this little piece from the Rebbe, and I want to show you that there's two arguments over here on the issue. I think one is solid, and the other one is you could argue one way or the other way. The Rebbe writes, "Haim tzarich lavorech bechus hagomel l'nesei ba'aviron." The Rebbe must have written it many years ago, before it was established in Israel that a plane is a matos. Today, a plane is a
Yeah, the Rebbe would have known that.
Okay, but back then it wasn't so clear if a plane is a matos or aviron. So, haim tzarich lavorech bechus hagomel l'nesei ba'aviron. L'daiti tolu ze b'shtei hashitas. Haim adalot shamonach chacham shechem lahoides bedafkeu or gam me'ein elu. Pasuk Rabbeinu Azok Meseder Bechsenanim Shaloi Perek Yud Gimel Alach Zayin Denogu Kedei Achroina Vuadim Benid Nidan. There's a discussion between the poskim. We say 4 things that Chachamim said that have to be voided to the Sei Goimel. The Kol Achayim Yidu Chasel. It's in the word Chayim. Kollel, Yam, Yisurim, and Midbar. So these 4 have to say a Goimel. What's if any other type of situation? So there's a machlokes. The minig is any type of sakona that a person was in. If he went out, makes a bracha v'agomel. The Rebbe says, "Well, order ba'alam b'lahoyset afilu ladei rishona avirona nasei me'ever liyam ariu gam k'mesug yordayam the ma'inaf k'mina." The Rebbe says, anyway, if you're flying in a plane over the ocean, what's the difference if you're sitting in the ocean in a boat or you're sitting in the ocean in a plane? You're going through the ocean. That the Gemara says Yordei Ayam. So the Rebbe says he heard that someone's medayik Yordei Hayam, not Oila al Hayam, not Oila al Gabe Hayam. Yordei Hayam be honest. You got to go down. If you're going up on a plane, that the Gemara says only if you go down. So the Rebbe says that's a little funny, such a diuk. Mashenkim nesim al Hayam inu nachrim l'shmus mefrat l'das elu shein lonu l'damas maksuvim droshes l'huskru b'razal. There's a shita that if you make your own drash, if the Chazal didn't mention it, you can't. So it's very. The pasuk says Yurdei Hayam Bionius. The Gemara doesn't say, "Oh, you should know if you're Yurdei Hayam," because the Yam is always lower than the Yabosha, right? If you're Yurdei Hayam with a boat, you make a goimel. And if you're Oila Layam, the Gemara never says, I'm going to make my own drash. So there's opinions, there's no such thing. You can't make your own drash. That's a lot of Artam G'dolei Yisrael that learn things directly from the Psukim. They don't hold of this rule, but it makes a lot of sense.
However, Yodei Hayam was all the time. The Matosim, the land, in the past, 200 years or so.
Right.
Yodei Hayam, it's for thousands of years.
Right. So there's two ways of saying it. One is, whoops, Rabbeinu and Rabashi lived a few hundred years too early. The Wright brothers weren't around yet. Had they been known about the experiment of the Wright brothers, they would have added 3 lines in the Gemara in the last Perek and Brachos. But they didn't have the plane. But I have a plane, and I know the pasuk says Yordei Hayam. So first of all, you could argue.
I heard the Agomel, you make it whenever you were in Sakana in Badera Cloud beyond the 4 examples, which could include a train or a plane or a car or any of those things.
No, somebody would like the World Trade Center and take a ride.
Let's finish. So again, first argument that Eb is making is that a plane is a sakana. What's the difference? What sakana? A person who's in a sakana is a sakana. Second argument is that never mind the sakana, not the sakana. Chazal said that there's 4 ways you'd make the bracha. One is Yordei Hayam. So if I'm Yordei Hayam, what's the difference? Yes, it's sakana. What happens if I travel in the best boat that humans ever invented? Right. I travel in the Titanic itself.
Yeah, that's
or so now I shouldn't have to make a goimel if I came out alive because it's such a safe vessel. It doesn't matter. Chazal say Yordei Hayam. So the Rebbe says, Rabbi, he heard that someone said that the Gemara learns it from the pasuk Yordei Hayam B'Yoniyos, and the pasuk says Yordei Hayam, so you have to go down in a vessel. But if you're going on a plane on top of the water, the Rebbe says, come on, we don't make deroshes from psukim. If Rabbeinu and Rabashi would have been around and they would have known of the Wright brothers, if they never met the Wright brothers, and they never
make deroshes from psukim.
Huh?
Doesn't the Gemara make?
The Gemara makes drashas psukim. Me and you don't make drashas from psukim.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
But maybe Yodei Hayam is submarine. That's Yodei Hayam.
Say lanu lilmad maksuvim drashas shalusker b'chazal. Nafshiku moving yesh l'chalek tzas ben sakana sagam l'gei la'onyim and nimtza ben agalim mashenkem ba'avaran nimtza ba'avir. Even though you could argue and say that's nothing to do. It has to when you're in the ocean, the danger is bigger than in a plane. A person could argue that. It's okay.
It's contrary, opposite.
You're saying it's not that way.
It's opposite. It's opposite. Flying in a plane is more dangerous than in a boat.
You could argue one way or the other way. You could argue one way or the other. So what I wanted to say is, number one, my 2 arguments here today is like this. The Rebbe in his letter, he was like saying, I don't care, you can argue about a plane, it's Yordei Hayam, not Yordei Hayam. At the end of the day, if you come off a plane, it's dangerous, so you land, you go like this, and you say a goimel. So you could say today the planes are safer than it used to be, okay? But there's still the second thing, that if you're going over the Yam, you're called Yordei Hayam, you're still called Yordei Hayam.
And if you're flying not over the ocean?
Oh, so what's if you're flying not over the ocean?
You don't make it,
So today, Taka, I see that there's a lot of people that have the minig that if they're flying not over the ocean, they don't make a goima. There's other, but Lepoil, that's a lot of people have that minig. They only make a Baruch of Goimel if they're flying over the ocean. And even that, the mamish going over the Atlantic, over the Pacific, not stam. I mean, if a person goes fishing, when he comes back from fishing, or if he goes out in the paddle boat.
If you take a helicopter over the Hudson River.
If you take a helicopter over the Hudson River, you probably should make twice a going. But yeah, not because of
They don't have helicopters
for pleasure rides.
No.
All right. When they did, it's not like
right.
You flew over.
So right, so you would make a gomel not because of your dayam. You'd make a gomel
because it could be dangerous.
Because it could be dangerous.
They
but
advertise from Long Island to Manhattan on helicopters. So you do it today.
Yeah.
Really?
So that's not your dayam. So the truth is, a lot of people today. I mean, I think it's very sensible to say that if you're going over the Atlantic, you're going over the Yam. So you're your dayam. Now you're going to tell me there's a difference if you go through the Yam, if you use the plane or you use the boat. You went through the Yam. The truth is that planes are not so safe, and in people's minds, it is an ibelebenish. You know, when you go on a plane, you do sometimes worry, especially with this turbulence. And the terrorists it's a multi-billion-dollar industry today to secure the airports and the planes. So it's different. Rabbi Avraham Chaim Noah says that if you go on a train through the desert, so first of all, I'm not sure. Second of all, it's very different. If you to go in a desert and you kill every animal in every listing, it's not a desert anymore. Right now, it's not a desert. A yam, even if you build a safe vessel and you go into the yam, you're the yam. You went in the yam. In a desert, the Torah Pasuk says that if you were in the desert, but this guy went with a team of people, they killed everything on 4 legs and even on 2 legs. They went and they killed everyone there. And they have now guards every 10 feet.
Now, would people take
This is not a midbar anymore. It's not a midbar. So it's different. When the Rabbi Avraham Chaim Noah said, if you're going on a train, by the way, if you're going on a train, there's a whole discussion. Yesh tchumin l'mayla ma'asora, el-gabi Shabbos, if you're allowed to go on a train in Shabbos, more than tchum Shabbos. Obviously, if it was a train that was going 2 miles per hour and it was open, it was in the middle of the African desert, and any lion could pounce on you, you wouldn't start saying a pilpul of yesh tchumin l'mayla ma'asora. It's dangerous. If you got out alive, you would say hagoimel. But
a few times
hagoimel. But now that the guy is going in a closed train, he's going 60 miles per hour. So what's the difference if I killed every lion in the desert, or I'm going l'mayla ma'asora tvachim and I'm flying 60 miles an hour and no lion can attack me? It's still zel bazar. Mashenkin, if you're going in the ocean, what do you mean? I built the best, safest vessel in the entire world. I built the Titanic itself. What's the difference? You're Yordayam. The pasuk says you're Yordayam. So I think it makes a lot of sense. The minig lepoil is a very, very nice man. In general, b'chlal, it's a nice thing to be miyashiv a minig instead of trying to undo a minig. I think we see lepoil mamish that the oilam makes a gomel when they go over the Atlantic and so on. They go over the Yam. And most of the oilam does not make the baruch of agomel when they take a flight which is not going over the Yam, and it makes a lot of sense because when you go over the Yam, number one, you right away from the 4 things that Chacham said you're the Yam. Yes, sakon and ishta sakon. I'm sitting in the Titanic. I'm sitting in a machnashtos. I'm you're the Yam, so I have to make a baruch agomel because that's what the pasuk says. But if I'm not going over the Yam, so then you could say, is this a sakon? It's not a sakon. It's safer flights. You could also say that the flights are not going to go in the Yam, at least for us in America. The terrorists are always more lohut. They want to get more the flights that are going international. They don't want so much the flights that are going from here to Detroit and from here to Cincinnati. The Lepoil, when you're going from America. Even though I have an upschlag, the terrorists on 9/11 just upschlugged my point over here.
Yeah.
Because they didn't care. Because the thing is, they were not trying to hijack a plane. They were trying to kill. So what's the difference if the plane is going?
Ultimately, it was the end game, the World Trade Center.
Right. So therefore, it didn't matter to them. But Lepoil, the more even the mitzad the sakona, and there's another point. if there needs to be an emergency landing, when you're going over the Yam, it's very complicated to have an emergency landing. If you're going over the Yabasha, it's simpler to find an emergency landing. And Adar, in a place where there's a Yam via Yabasha, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when they had the plane that both its engines blew out, and there was a very skilled pilot, and he was able to land it right over here in the East River, Machaya. No one got hurt. Everyone got out safely. If had the same thing been a landing be'emtza the Atlantic, the story might have not ended the same, because the crews were there to pick up the people within minutes. Had they been be'emtza yam lavdafke, they would have been that everyone would have been saved. So anyway, I think it's a dava poshut that there's no reason to change the minig. People that are flying over the yam for sure should make the bracha agomel, and if it's not going over the yam, I see the prevailing minig is not to make the bracha.
My opinion on this issue was that it's not normal for humans to fly. Birds fly, humans do not. So if you have humans in the air, that's just not normal and it's dangerous.
So you should always make a gun.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sensible. That does make sense.
The air itself is a yam.
Yeah, I hear. The whole air is like the yam.
Yeah, because it's just not normal for humans to be there.
Right. I hear. Listen, the Boeing is in such a hack to herring right now after this story with that plane.
The window.
Huh?
The window.
It was not a window; it was a door.
They had to ground everything. They grounded everything, and that's something else happened with another plane out there. So
Yeah. So it's unbelievable. This. Okay, quickly.
By the way, it's a passing.
The whole idea of Arba Tzrichim Lahoidis comes from the Pasuk in Tehillim in Kuf Zayin. It's based on the whole Kapitel Tehillim. You read, it's a very long pasuk. It says Yoidel Shem Chazem Loisim, and it says over there the 4 examples that David the Melech gives, the 4 things that people that have to be moida to the Eibishter. And we learn it from a pasuk in Tehillim. Okay, very very quickly. Bochrel, it was accepted upon himself a special Hanhaga Toiva. His family's nizir to do a special Hanhaga Toiva, to wear a gartel, and he decided that he's going to wear a gartel. It was a beautiful thing because the Gemara talks about it, and we had a sheet about it, and he decided to wear a gartel. But then he realized that when he goes to yeshiva and to camp, and no one wears a gartel, and it's a little bit So the question is, does he have to wear the gartel, or can he take off the gartel, wear the gartel when he wants, and not wear when he doesn't want? The answer in short is that that he's not allowed to take off the gartel. It's Hanhaga Toiva, which is based on a Gemara, based on a Shulchan Aruch, based on it's not stam, it's Hanhaga Toiva, which is but a person could do a Torah Nedarim. It's not that complicated. To make 3 people, or make a Pesach Harot, and make a Torah Nedarim. Let's read it inside quickly.
He didn't want to do that?
Huh?
This young man didn't want to do that.
No, he just asked. He didn't. He asked what to do.
Oh.
He asked if he's allowed to take off his gartel. The answer is, if he makes a Torah Nedarim, he can do it. If he doesn't make a Torah Nedarim, he's not allowed to do it. Now, next time, when he'll take upon himself to do an Hanhaga Toiva, he'll make sure to be saying Bli Neder. Now, the truth is, the nusach the Alter Rebbe has for Torah Nedarim before Rosh Hashanah, which, by the way, doesn't apply for this. But it is that if you have an Hanhaga Toiva, v'lo yisneisi sheyeh bli neder. So let's read in the Shulchan Aruch some of the issue Daled Sakal. Vorim mutarim v'yuduim b'hem mutarim v'ayodim b'hem. Sorry, mutarim v'ayodim b'hem mutarim, and they know they're mutar. However, no go misur abikilu kibul alayim benader ba'atz latim laim lefikts mishrog l'san tani sol nere shekana v'nere shenim kippur shoger shlachem ba'asu v'shlish tziyam rach chedesh v'ay miyuzayin tamuz v'ritz alach zebay mach mashen bar v'tzarek shiateli imul shiateli you need to Torah Nedarim shoshi yitzchel inikein oy bedayt inikein lo'olam v'noken afilu pamachas. If he started doing it and he thought he's going to do it forever, and he did it one time, tzarek atorah v'iftach b'charotosh mischaret shenokein. The Shem Neder. לפיכך הרויץ לינם במקצת דברים המותרים לסיוג ופרישס יום בתחילת הנגוס שאינם קבלו כבנדר. גם יום שהם בדייתי לינקין אלא בפעם ההוא או במים שירצה ולא לעולם. A person could say, I'm doing this a good anhaga. I just do this anhaga. Anhaga toiva. You know, I see I see my son-in-law. It says Krishma Shalamita. He puts on his hat. He puts on his kapota. He puts on his gartel. So wow, it's a beautiful thing. It's an hoga toiva. Truth is, a letter from the Maggid to the Alter Rebbe saying that he shouldn't. Chassidim are very makbid not to say Krishma Shalamita alamita, not to say it alamita, not to say it alamita, to say it. So some chassidim, they know you know you're going to be tired. You're working on a project. You're learning a Shagas Arya, but you know when you're going to finish your Shagas Arya, you're going to be like that. So then you say Krishma before you start the Shagas Arya. A hat, a jackal, a gartel.
But it's right before you go to sleep.
Right before, 2 hours before.
It could be 2 hours before. I always thought.
Amapil has to be right before. The Chassidim.
Oh, but the Shema could be long before you go to sleep.
Yeah, what does it say?
Okay.
So
I always just thought
a lot
the sitter puts them together.
I know it's alamita. So, but Chassidim are very makbid. It's interesting. There's a letter. Mapil, if doing bed.
That's done in bed.
That's you doing bed. But so a person says, you know, it's a beautiful anhaga. You know, why? Because Nishma Shalamita in the way of thinking in Chassidim, by Chassidim is that it's not just a technical thing to go to sleep with Divrei Torah. You're taking stock of what happened this day. It's a cheshbon tzedek. You know, you're going through in your mind what did I accomplish today? What did I do? What did I not do? What's the plan for tomorrow? Like they said from one of the chassidim that every time by Krishma Shalamita he would say morgen wird sein gut anders. Tomorrow will be good anders. It'll be totally different than today. Every night he would make a cheshbon hanefesh. He'd be disappointed about what was or wasn't, and he would always announce. Morgen wird sein gut anders. Tomorrow it's going to be totally different. So a person
Different good or different bad?
Good. So a person says, you know, I like this idea. You know, to wait once a year for Yom Kippur to take stock of what's going on. Once a day. By the way, it works two ways. This idea, because in Tanya, those are learning chitas. Last week, he says that the middle of the day, if a person starts thinking, being upset about, yes, about it's terrible. It's the Yetzer Hara trying to drag you down right now. So because why middle of the day all of a sudden you're starting to have such thoughts? It's just trying to pull you down. Because once you feel bad about yourself, you're in the Yetzer Hara's hand. You're like this. You're in his back pocket. So when this is itim uzumanim. What's the itim uzumanim? This is my Krishma Shalamita. So the person's going to say, you know what? I'm going to start saying Krishma Shalamita with a certain, I'm not just saying it alamita. Person could say, listen, I'm doing a bli neder. What happens if one night I'm really super tired and I fell, I landed, I just about landed on my bed. So I'll say it alamita, but you have to say bli neder. Person has to say bli neder. Read in the Shulchan Aruch here. Not only when it's a isur, when it's a mitzvah. Because the other Simon Shulchan Aruch was an isur. Here is a mitzvah. Lots of short mitzvah in the Drikayim. Person says he didn't say nothing. He said eshna peidigzeh. It's as if he made a neder. It's a gemara in the Dorim. The Alter B'Shulchan Aruch says Simon Kuf Samach Aleph Sivches. This chiddush is from the Beis Yosef, and also the last Simon in Simon Kuf Samach Aleph. Shir netilas yadayim kol hayad ad hakona shel zroyu kishir kiddush yadayim shebamikdash. That it's here. You wash your hands until here.
Where?
Till here. If yesh yomim shekilu ben netilas yadayim v'lo yitzricha elad mokem chibur etzbos lekaf hayad right over here. V'ron ninin kisvara harishona. Given shu davar shein b'toirach. Lama loy noitzin av shenim amachloikis. V'nochen lahasnas v'loimer she'enei mekabel dova zeh b'teres choyve el b'teres rifis. Kedei shim eize pam lo yizdam aloi maim kol kach lo yitztarech la'achme keminogay. V'chein roi lahasnas b'chol dova shodem reitz la'achme alatzmim. Noitli. Every time you're doing a special chumrah, you should make it tonight. That I'm only doing it
I can do it.
if I can do it. If I can't do it, I won't do it. So the same thing here. This is this is really from the Machaber. The Shulchan Aruch says so. It's a machloikis if you wash your hands till here to here. First, you should make it tonight. I'm doing it only as an extra chumrah. There's an unbelievable word from Rabbi Landau, who is the Rav, Allah Shalom, Zechron Lebrocha of Bnei Brak.
Well, you had a shkachas.
That's right. Still today, you have the Rabbi Landau Brocha. It's a very reliable Brocha. He said, Tav Shechov Gimel, he was invited to the Rebbe's upstairs where the Sudas were held, where the Rebbe had the Suda. And he noticed an interesting thing. When the Rebbe was washing his hands, and there is a din of shifshuf yadayim, you're supposed to make sure the water gets all over you. So mashafshuf yadayim, you make sure the water gets all over. So he noticed that even though the Rebbe has a fabrengen downstairs in front of the public, if he washes his hands, he does like everyone. He's mashafshif yadayim like this. That when in private, when he's mashafshif yadayim like this, he goes like this. Funny, like this. He goes like this. Mashafshif is yadayim like this. So he said a pshat, unbelievable pshat. He said, "This is a din of Shulchan Aruch that when you start washing your hands till here, you have to make it tonight that I'm doing it only bli neder." Did you make that night when you were the day of your bar mitzvah?
No.
Did you? I also didn't. I never knew such an halacha b'klal. I didn't. If you ask me day my mitzvah, which simon is hilchas natilas yadayim, I'm not sure I knew the answer. So what's the pella that I didn't make it tonight? He said, but Lubavitch Rebbe, the day of his bar mitzvah, for sure made that tonight. That I'm washing the hands, but even though I'm washing till here, but it's only bli neder. If necessary, I'll do like this. Okay. Now the din is that the water that goes out, it's so complicated. It depends if it was a revius or not. But the water that are going out from your hand, that drip down, are tamei water, and if they're a choizer to your hand,
If it goes on your clothes?
or you go on your hand, the clothes. If you get absorbed in your clothes, it goes, and then it goes back down on your hand. It's matama your hand. That's how you're supposed to keep your hands up. Truth is, we wash 3 times and we wash more than the revius. It's not a problem, but okay. But under certain circumstances, the mayim that were on your hands, or yotzel l'chutz of the chazer, they're matama your hands again. You have to do until sidayim again. So, which part of your hand is outside your hand? So, could be if the water leaked from your fingers down to the rest of your hand, that's already. So, what are you going to be? You're doing like this. You're being meshafshif. You're making a problem. Elamai lepoil. That's the minhag from the Welt. So, in the public, that ever did like the whole Welt, probably relying that they put plenty more than that avis, relying on many things. But in private, he probably made it tonight, the day of his bar mitzvah. That even though he's going to wash his hands till here, but alpidin, you can wash till here, and he's making it tonight. So now, when in private, when he did shivshuv, he didn't want to go like this. Because the ikar water is the ones on the fingers. I just think this is so cute. Not true. I don't care. I just think it's brilliant. The way a chosid, Rabbi Landa, who is a chosid, but also brilliant Talmud Chochem, noticed that in public the Rebbe was going like this, and in private the Rebbe was going like this, and he came up with such a brilliant lumdus. Anyway, bottom line is that when you do an Ahoga Toiva, you have to say it's bli neder. And if you're going to start reading Krishma like a Shalamita, like a Chosid, you should say bli neder. I'm doing it. It's a nice thing. Bli neder.
Only
If it's non-chassid, it says to do it alamita, or is it?
Yeah, but that's
Ala gartel. Ala gartel.
You don't sit like able.
Yeah.
It says alamita means because you're going to sleep. But
Oh,
not-
Yeah. You don't do it ala mitzvah. You do it ala gartel, ala hat and jacket, ala standing in a corner, or sitting. Huh? and you pay attention, think through what happened this day. So it's a hanhaga tova. It's an hanhaga tova. A person should makabel ben heder. A person then makabel ben heder. Then you have to make a Torah and Dorim. Ebisher should be matir. All these surim that we have.
Hanhaga tova, you have to do.
Yeah.
Everything you have to do.
No. Only because otherwise it's nothing. It's a word. It's nothing. It's yeah. So, right. So I don't know. So it's you're asking a good child. It says over there that Alter Rebbe writes if you know befedish. If so, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. Atzlacha.
Thank you. I heard the old Eget boss in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
He said, when I die, the Rebbe should take me straight to Gan Eden. They ask him, how come? Say, when I drive, everybody say Tehillim.
Yeah, they say when the rabbi get the drosha shlochtman, and when I drive, there's on Tehillim.
No, go email.